We ran 75W-90 against 80W-140 in the same F-150 rear differential for a full year and sent drain samples to an independent lab after every single change. The viscosity that towing forums almost universally recommend produced a result the wear metal data did not fully support. And the answer to which one belongs in your differential depends on a single question about how you actually use your truck. The debate between these two viscosity grades has generated more forum arguments than almost any other maintenance topic in F-150 ownership. 75W-90 is Ford's factory specification for the 8.8-inch rear axle under normal use. 80W-140 is Ford's own upgrade specification for severe duty towing right there in the owner's manual. Both viscosities have legitimate original equipment manufacturer standing, but almost nobody arguing about them online has actual independent lab data from the same axle running both fluids under the same load. After a full year of documented testing, we do. To isolate viscosity as the variable, both test fluids are full synthetic formulations from the same manufacturer, Mobil 175W-90 and Mobil 180W-140. Same base stock tier, same additive package architecture, same independent lab, blind coded samples at every drain. The test vehicle is the same 2018 F-150 with the 8.8-inch rear axle that has anchored every test on this channel, 15,000 miles of annual driving with consistent 2,000-pound trailer towing on a regular rotation. That towing use is the critical detail because the viscosity question only matters under load. A truck that never tows is a different conversation entirely. Here's what actually separates these two fluids below the surface, because the viscosity grade printed on the bottle is the beginning of the story, not the end of it. At operating temperature, the temperature your differential actually runs at during normal driving, 80W-140 maintains roughly 40 to 60% more film thickness between the ring gear and pinion contact faces than 75W-90. More film thickness means more separation between metal surfaces under the sliding contact that hypoid gears create. That sliding contact is what makes a differential fundamentally different from every other gear set in your drivetrain, and it is the exact failure mode that heavier viscosity gear oil was designed to address. But the cold start side of the equation runs in the opposite direction. At 0 degrees Fahrenheit, 80W-140 full synthetic flows measurably slower than 75W-90. The first seconds after a cold start, before the differential reaches operating temperature, are the window where the thinner fluid reaches gear surfaces faster and provides earlier protection. In a northern climate with hard winters, that cold start window happens every single morning for months. The question the test had to answer was which side of that equation dominates in real-world wear data. If you want to support me, like this video, and let's dive in. The first drain came back with iron at 7 parts per million on the 75W-90. The 80W-140 came back at 6 parts per million. Copper on the 75W-90 at 3 parts per million. 80W-140 at 3. On a single drain, that iron difference is within normal lab variance. It is a directional signal, not a verdict. But the direction it pointed, lower wear on the heavier viscosity fluid under towing duty, was consistent with the film thickness advantage the physical chemistry predicts. The additive reserves on both fluids came back healthy. Both were doing their jobs. The question was what the second interval would show. The second drain is where a data point becomes a pattern. 75W-90 iron at the second drain, 8 parts per million. Up 1 from the first interval. 80W-140 iron, 5 parts per million. Down 1 from the first interval. That is a 3 parts per million gap that had not existed at the start of the test. Copper on the 75W-90 moved to 4. 80W-140 copper held at 3. 2 consecutive intervals, and the heavier viscosity fluid was trending in one direction while the factory spec fluid was trending in the other. Here is where the temperature data entered the conversation and reframed what those wear numbers were actually measuring. We logged axle housing temperature on every tow run using a contact thermocouple on the differential cover. During a sustained highway tow run in July with an ambient temperature of 92 degrees, axle housing temps peaked at 261 degrees Fahrenheit. That is not an unusual number for an F-150 under tow load. That is normal operating temperature for a working truck on a summer highway. And at 261 degrees, 75W-90 full synthetic has thinned to a viscosity that is measurably lower than its rated grade. 80W-140 at the same temperature is still providing a significantly thicker film between those gear surfaces. The wear metal trend was not random. It was the temperature crossover showing up in parts per million. The number that reframes the cost conversation is not the price per quart. 75W-90 and 80W-140 full synthetic retail within $1 to $2 per quart of each other at most parts counters. The number that actually matters is this. At 261 degrees of axle temperature under sustained tow load, the film thickness difference between these two viscosities is the difference between gear surfaces that are fully separated and gear surfaces that are operating with reduced margin. The wear metal data across 2 consecutive intervals showed that difference accumulating at 3 parts per million of iron per interval. Across 30,000 miles of towing duty, that is not a rounding error. The 75W-90 is not a failing fluid. It met Ford's specification, it protected this differential within normal parameters, and for a truck that tows occasionally at moderate loads, it is a defensible choice backed by the manufacturer's own specification. But Ford's severe duty specification exists for a reason. When the owner's manual says 80W-140 for regular towing applications, the lab data from this test supports that recommendation with numbers rather than just factory authority. The cold start caveat is real and worth stating clearly. If your F-150 sees sustained sub-freezing temperatures and does not tow regularly, the cold start flow advantage of 75W-90 is the more relevant variable for your specific wear profile. The heavier viscosity's film thickness advantage only converts to lower wear readings at the operating temperatures that sustained towing produces. If you never reach those temperatures, you are paying for a film thickness margin you are not using. At a minor cold start cost, you are paying every morning. After a full year and 6 lab reports, here is the specific answer. If your F-150 tows with any regularity, operates in warm climates, or pulls at or near its rated capacity, the 80W-140 produced lower iron at both intervals, a lower copper trend, and did it at a price difference that is negligible per change. The wear data supports Ford's own severe duty recommendation. If your truck lives in a cold climate and sees light or no towing, the 75W-90's cold flow advantage is the more meaningful variable for your actual use case. The viscosity debate does not have one universal answer, but after this test, it has data. If you want to see how both viscosities compare specifically in the front differential on a 4-wheel drive F-150, where the cold start variable carries even more weight, that test is already running. Subscribe so you do not miss those results. Drop a comment telling me what viscosity your F-150 is running right now and whether you tow. I will see you in the next one.